And welcome to another episode of Adobe Photoshop Tips and Techniques. Today's tip is actually about understanding layers. Once you've mastered the art of layers, which a lot of people still struggle with as far as to get their heads around working in different layers in Photoshop, the understanding of many different things that this program can do for you becomes a lot easier. So I'm going to just take a few minutes on this episode and take a look at what layers is all about. I've taken an image here that I shot in an alleyway in Lucca, Italy a few years ago, and I've actually, before we started the video, I removed the bike. See how I've unclicked this part of the layer? So this is actually how it was shot, and all I did was copied it and then cleaned the bike up off of the original layer or the background layer, because I wanted to just break down layers and go over a few things with you. First of all, you'll notice how quickly and easily I've turned on and off that layer. Well, that's because these little eyeballs down here actually, when you click on them, turn on and off the layer. So there you can actually see the point of the layer that I cut out and repasted on top of itself. It is also very important to know that just like if you stacked a series of different sizes of pieces of paper, the one on the top is going to show through, the one that is the solid one on the bottom is going to your base and it'll disappear. So for instance, if I was to take my background layer and change it by double clicking it so that it is a layer of itself. Now, as a background is anchored, that means you can't move it. By double clicking on it and creating a layer from it, that means that I can alter around my layer state. So therefore, if you look at layer number 1, you'll see that it disappears when I pull it underneath my background, or now layer 0. So as you can see, layers is nothing but a series of stacks. So quite often someone will say to me, oh, I typed some text, but I can't find it. Well, it's usually because they've had a series of layers built up, and when they've typed the text, it is gone and it is on one of the lower layers where you can't see it. So let's just add some text to this right now. So I'm on layer 1, which means that as soon as I click my mouse, my text is going to go above it. If I had been on layer 0 and clicked my mouse, my text would have gone in between it. So if you always want to make sure your text is on top, make sure you click on your top layer. So let's just put, I love Italy. Okay, so it's kind of small. So another quick little tip here for text is, if you see your text size up here, you can just take your mouse and drag it over top of the T, and it will make your text bigger. So you don't have to actually go in and change the sizes all the time. So that's kind of a handy thing. So I love Italy. There we go. Of course, you could go down to text and choose all sorts of different fonts for it. So we could have something a little fancier if we wished. And let's make it just a wee bit bigger. There we go. But as you see, it's on its own layer. So again, by clicking on the little eye, I can turn that layer on and off. I could turn my background layer off, or my subject layer off, or my background layer off. So that's what is so handy as far as creating a series of layers. I could go ahead and bring in a logo, for instance. So if I wanted to have a company logo on here, I could now bring that in and use it, and it would be on its own separate layer. Once I'm finished, and I want to save this, I would then go up here and I would save it as a PSD file. Okay, it'll ask me right away. PSD file is a Photoshop document that preserves the layers. If you save it as a TIFF, it will preserve the layers, but if you save it as a JPEG or any other format, it will compress or put all the layers together, and you'll no longer be able to access them separately. So if you're finished with what you're doing, that's fine. But if you wanted to come back and re-access the file and do other work on it, then it's very, very important to leave it as your layers. One other thing is, when you take a look on the layers palette itself, you can see that there's a lot of different choices. I can go down here and I can select merge visible, for instance, or merge down. Say all I want to do is put these two layers together, I love Italy and the layer that involves the bike. I would then click here and I would choose Merge Layers. And see, that now becomes one layer so that my text and my bicycle is at one. So I know this has been a very simple breakdown of it, but if you understand those basics of what layers will do for you, you can carry on and do many different Photoshop techniques with them. Layers becomes very, very handy from the sake of being able to copy from one layer to another and then eliminate it. As I said here, in a case where I have text, I could be sending out a multiple of documents and I want to customize it to each and individual person. Well, then I could change my text and then resave it as a JPEG. So working with layers is a fundamental part of Adobe Photoshop, and understanding just how they work and by putting them in the order can make a whole bunch of difference. Thank you.